There's a danger we don't often talk about, not the kind that shouts in your face, but the kind that whispers in your ear and smiles while it robs you. Some of the most destructive people you will ever meet won't come wearing a warning label. They will seem helpful, kind, even charming. But their subtlety is what makes them dangerous. One of the most dangerous types of people you'll ever encounter doesn't raise their voice, doesn't push you around, and doesn't even make a demand. Instead, they charm you. They compliment you. They make you feel like the smartest, most beautiful, most capable person in the room. And it feels good, of course it does. We all want to be seen, appreciated, and valued. But here's the catch with this person. Their words aren't a gift. They're bait. A sweet talker with a hidden agenda knows exactly what your heart wants to hear. They study you, your insecurities, your hopes, your soft spots, and then they use that knowledge to wrap their manipulation in velvet. You don't see the trap because it doesn't look like a trap. It looks like friendship. It looks like encouragement. It looks like love. At first, they might offer you opportunities, introduce you to people, or support your dreams. But over time, you start to notice a shift. Their compliments become a currency, and you start feeling like you owe them something in return. Maybe it's your loyalty. Maybe it's your silence. Maybe it's your agreement, even when your gut says they're wrong. And here's the subtle danger. They never ask directly. That way, when you finally realize what's happening, you feel guilty for even thinking they might have bad intentions. They'll say, after everything I've done for you, you'd think I'd get a little trust. Or, wow, I guess you don't appreciate people who are on your side. What they're really doing is controlling you without ever looking controlling. The truth is, genuine kindness doesn't come with strings attached. Real encouragement is given freely, no expectation, no hidden scorecard. But a sweet talker with a hidden agenda is always keeping track, always making mental notes of how much they've invested in you so they can cash in later. The lesson here is simple but hard. You must pay as much attention to why someone is saying something as you do to what they're saying. If the kindness disappears the moment you stop playing along, it was never kindness. It was leverage. Trust the compliments that can stand on their own. Distrust the ones that need to be repaid. Some people don't need to raise their voice to control you. They don't threaten. They don't demand. They simply know how to twist the knife in the most polite, almost invisible way possible. These are the masters of guilt. The master of guilt is an expert at using your empathy against you. They know you care about people's feelings. They know you value being kind and considerate, and they use those values like tools to get what they want. It starts subtly. You set a boundary, and they tilt their head just enough for you to notice the disappointment in their eyes. You say you can't make it to an event, and their tone drops ever so slightly when they reply, "Oh, I guess it's fine. I just thought you'd be there for me." Notice, they haven't accused you of anything directly, but you walk away feeling like you failed them. You start replaying the conversation in your head, wondering if you were being selfish, and that's exactly where they want you. Second, guessing yourself. A master of guilt doesn't need to take responsibility for their needs. They don't have to say, "I want you to do this for me." Instead, they make you feel like you're a bad friend, child, partner, or colleague if you don't. Their control works because it's invisible. You feel like you're making your own choice, but you're actually reacting to an emotional trap. The most dangerous part, over time, you start anticipating their disappointment before it even happens. You start adjusting your decisions in advance to avoid hurting them. That's when they've won. When you're no longer living from your values, but from fear of their reaction. Here's the truth that will set you free. Healthy relationships allow space for no without punishment. Love doesn't weaponize guilt. Friendship doesn't make you feel smaller for protecting your energy, if someone consistently makes you feel like you owe them your time, your money, your attention, or your emotional labor just to avoid feeling like a bad person, you're not in a relationship, you're in an emotional cage. The exit isn't easy, but it starts with noticing the pattern. Ask yourself, would I make this choice if I didn't feel guilty? If the answer is no, then you're not acting out of love. You're acting out of control. The master of guilt counts on your silence, your people-pleasing, and your fear of disappointing others. But once you see the game, you can choose not to play. We've all been through hard seasons, moments where life knocks the wind out of us, and we need a safe place to land. In those moments, vulnerability is healthy, asking for help is courageous, and sharing our pain can be deeply healing. But then there's another pattern altogether. The person who seems to live in that space. The one who is never in a season of victory, never learning the lesson, never rising from the ashes. They are the perpetual victim. The perpetual victim has a story for every occasion. And in every story, life has done them wrong. The boss was unfair. The friend betrayed them. The partner changed. The system is against them. And if you listen closely, you'll notice something important. In every single story, they are the innocent one. They never played a part in the conflict, never made a mistake, never could have done anything differently. Now, here's the subtle danger. Their stories are so convincing that you feel compelled to step in, to rescue them, to fix the mess they're in. At first, you believe you're helping. You offer advice, you give your time, you lend your resources. And for a while, you feel good about being there for them, but then it happens again, and again, and again. Different problem, same script. You start to realize something. They don't actually want to be rescued because being the victim gives them something they value more than a solution, attention, sympathy, and the ability to avoid responsibility. When someone is committed to being a victim, every rescue becomes a reinforcement. Every time you swoop in, you confirm to them that the world is against them and they are powerless. You think you're lifting them up, but you're actually helping them stay stuck. The most dangerous part, you can get trapped in a cycle where their crisis becomes your crisis. You start adjusting your schedule, draining your emotional energy, and bending your life to accommodate their endless emergencies. And the more you give, the more they take, because why would they climb out of the hole when the hole is where they get the most love and attention? The truth is, real friendship doesn't mean you carry someone's life for them. Love doesn't mean allowing someone to live in permanent helplessness. Healthy relationships allow for support and accountability. The two must coexist. If you notice that someone's identity is entirely built around how the world has hurt them and that they resist any opportunity to take responsibility or grow, you're not looking at a person in a hard season. You're looking at someone who thrives in the role of victim. And here's the thing, your compassion is a beautiful gift, but it's not meant to be used as fuel for someone else's refusal to grow. It's okay to care deeply and still set the boundary that says, I will help you, but I will not keep you here, because the moment you stop playing into the role they've cast you in, the hero to their victim, you take away the one thing they rely on most, your participation in their story. Some people have a gift for winning people over. They walk into a room and the energy shifts. They know exactly what to say to make you laugh, how to make you feel important, and how to leave you thinking, wow, this person is amazing. But charm is not the same as character. And when it's used without integrity, it can be one of the most dangerous tools in the hands of an irresponsible person. The charmer who never takes responsibility lives in that exact space. They are magnetic, disarming, and often make a fantastic first impression. But here's the pattern. When things go well, they are front and center, soaking up the praise. And when things go wrong, They vanish into the background, scattering blame like seeds in the wind. If a project fails, it's because someone else dropped the ball. If a relationship ends, it's because you didn't understand them. If they miss a deadline, it's because the universe conspired against them. They are masters of the art of deflection. And because they're charming, they don't sound like they're making excuses. They sound like they're telling an interesting story about how the odds were stacked against them. You may even find yourself laughing along, thinking, yeah, they really were unlucky. But here's the thing, luck can explain a moment, not a pattern. When someone's entire history is made up of stories where they were the hero or the victim, but never the one at fault, you're not looking at bad luck. You're looking at a person who refuses to own their part in anything. The danger here isn't just in their denial, it's that their charm makes you want to protect them. You start defending them to others, taking on their unfinished work or cleaning up messes they created. And over time, you find yourself exhausted, carrying responsibilities that were never yours in the first place. In relationships, this pattern is especially toxic. A charming partner who never takes responsibility can make you feel like you're always overreacting, always the one causing drama, always the one who needs to apologize, even when the problem started with them. This constant reversal of accountability can wear you down until you start questioning your own reality. Here's the truth. Genuine charm without responsibility is manipulation. It's a way of keeping people close enough to use, but not close enough to hold you accountable. The key is to watch for consistency. Pay attention not to how someone acts when they're praised, but how they respond when they're confronted. Do they deflect, distract, and charm their way out? Or do they own their mistakes, apologize, and make it right? Because in the end, the real measure of character is not how someone shines when the spotlight is on. It's how they stand when the light reveals their flaws. This is the one most people never see coming. The friendly saboteur doesn't look like an enemy. They don't storm into your life with obvious negativity or outright criticism. In fact, they might be one of the first to congratulate you, one of the loudest to support you, and one of the most present when things are going well. But beneath that friendly surface is something much more subtle, a need to keep you just small enough that you'll never outgrow them. A friendly saboteur knows how to disguise discouragement as concern. They'll say things like, I'm happy for you, but are you sure you can handle that? That's a big step. I'd hate to see you get hurt. Wow, that's ambitious. You've never done something like that before. On the surface, those words might sound caring. But if you listen closely, there's a seed of doubt planted in each sentence. And here's the danger. Those seeds don't sprout overnight. They sit in your mind quietly, and then one day, in a moment of uncertainty, they bloom into self-doubt. The friendly saboteur often works in small, consistent doses. They might joke about your abilities in front of others, then tell you not to take it personally. They might subtly compare you to someone else, implying you'll never quite measure up. They might even celebrate your smallest wins while downplaying your biggest ones, making sure your definition of success stays limited. Why do they do it? Sometimes it's insecurity. Your growth makes them question their own. Sometimes it's fear. If you change too much, they might lose their place in your life. And sometimes it's control. Keeping you uncertain keeps you dependent. The most dangerous thing about a friendly saboteur is that you want to believe they have your best interest at heart. You might even dismiss your gut feeling because they're such a good friend or always been there for you. That's what makes their influence so effective. It's wrapped in trust. The truth is, real friends don't make you question your worth under the guise of protecting you. Real supporters don't shrink your dreams so they can feel comfortable in your presence. And here's where it gets hard. Spotting a friendly saboteur often means admitting that someone you care about doesn't actually want to see you fully win. It's painful. But clarity is kinder than pretending. Pay attention to how you feel after spending time with someone. Do you walk away lighter, braver, and more inspired, or do you leave second guessing yourself, doubting your abilities, and shrinking your vision? That answer will tell you more than their words ever will, because the real measure of a person's friendship isn't how they treat you when you're struggling. It's how they treat you when you're soaring. If you've been listening closely, you've probably noticed something. None of these people, whether they're the sweet talker, the master of guilt, the perpetual victim, the charmer who never takes responsibility, or the friendly saboteur, operate in obvious ways. They don't show up waving a red flag. They show up holding flowers, and that's the point. The most dangerous people in our lives aren't always the ones who openly oppose us. They're the ones who hide behind kindness, charm, and even love while quietly draining our energy, our confidence, and our sense of self. They all have one thing in common. They thrive in the shadows of your uncertainty. They know that if you second guess yourself, you're easier to influence. If you doubt your worth, you're easier to control. If you're afraid of losing them, you're easier to keep exactly where they want you. Here's the hard truth. They don't have as much power as we think they do. Their influence depends on our silence, our hesitation, and our willingness to trade self-respect for the comfort of keeping the peace. The moment you stop looking for their approval, their grip starts to loosen. But that requires something uncomfortable: trusting your own instincts, even when you can't yet prove they're right. It means believing the small voice inside that says, "This doesn't feel right," even if everyone else thinks this person is wonderful. Because clarity is the enemy of manipulation. Once you can clearly name the pattern, you can see the trap for what it is: not love, not friendship, not support, but control. And once you see it, you have a choice. The truth behind all of them is this: they're not here to destroy you in one big, dramatic moment. They're here to slowly convince you to destroy yourself, to talk you out of your own power, to make you doubt your own path, and to keep you from becoming the version of yourself that no longer needs their approval. And the most important thing you can remember is this: your boundaries are not unkind. Your no is not cruel, and walking away does not make you the bad person in the story. You cannot stop subtle evil from existing in the world, but you can stop it from having a home in your life. And when you do, something amazing happens. You don't just get rid of toxic people. You create space for healthy ones. You create space for the kind of love, friendship, and connection that doesn't shrink you, silence you, or manipulate you. It frees you. That's the truth behind all of them. They only win if you let them. And you don't have to. We often imagine Havel as loud, obvious, and easy to spot. But in reality, the most dangerous people rarely shout. They whisper, they smile, they blend in. And that's why we have to learn to see not just with our eyes, but with our intuition. The sweet talker, the master of guilt, the perpetual victim, the charmer who never takes responsibility, and the friendly saboteur each wears a mask that hides their true intentions. But masks only work when we doubt what we're seeing. The truth is, you are allowed to trust your gut even when you can't explain why. You are allowed to step back from people who drain your spirit, even if everyone else thinks they're wonderful. You are allowed to protect your peace without apology, because life is too short to spend in spaces where you are being quietly diminished. The people who deserve a front row seat in your life are the ones who will celebrate your growth, respect your boundaries, and love you without strings attached. You can't control how others show up, but you can control who you let close enough to influence your heart. And that choice to guard your mind, your time, and your spirit is the one that will keep you free. So don't be fooled. Don't be silent. Don't be afraid to see people for who they are. And above all, don't forget your worth is not up for negotiation.